You join me inside the cabin of the 2020 Toyota Highlander. It's an all-new generation for this model year, and that means new exterior design, new interior stuff, technology, creature comforts, and for the hybrid, an all-new powertrain. I just found another spot of bird poop on the exterior, which means it's going to be a good review. There it is. There's that bird dung. Thought I spent this morning cleaning off all the spots of bird poop from last night where the birds went crazy, but I guess not. They just had to decorate the ruby flare pearl paint job on this 2020 Toyota Highlander hybrid platinum all-wheel drive. And the platinum all-wheel drive means this is the range-topping Highlander. And we'll start with the exterior, which I think is markedly improved over the last generation Highlander, which was just so vanilla. This now has some character to it. And up here at the front, it's funny to me that the Camry and the Avalon have these massive grills. They're sedans. And then it comes to this SUV, this 3-row, very large SUV, and it's got a modest grill. Well, modest by today's standards. You can hear that hybrid powertrain working to cool this car on a warmer spring day. But we've got blacked out grill insert with Toyota hybrid badge with sort of wings coming across and just extending beyond the grill. That blue border for the Toyota logo tells you that it is a hybrid, along with the 3 other badges on the vehicle. Standard LED headlights across the Highlander range. The top trims, the Limited and Platinum, get self-leveling and bending LED headlights. LED fog lights down here, and I think they look good. This sculpting down here in the bumper helps give it a little more character. Silver finish for this lower bumper piece. And what I think is just, it's a good looking countenance. Good looking face on the Highlander. As we swing over to the side, we'll see that the Platinum version has standard 20-inch wheels with a sort of gunmetal finish. The Limited trim also gets 20 inches, but they've got a different wheel design, and lesser models have smaller wheels. You can see the all-wheel drive badging there, and one of your 3 hybrid badges. As I mentioned, this ruby flare pearl paint is $425 extra. I think it looks pretty good. It's like a deep blood red with some metallic flake to it. The profile, here's where the most divisive design element of the Highlander resides. This flared out rear body portion. So I'll show you from the side. You can see just how dramatic it flares out. So coming along the side, it comes in tight. Down below has this crease and then pops up, and it just juts out so much. Kind of like a sports car where it's got to have enough wheel arch to account for wider tires. This one, of course, is not a sports car, but it's got sports car design elements in that flared out haunch. Some people are going to hate it. I think in an otherwise kind of boring profile, it really adds a lot to the vehicle. I think it looks good. Going to the back, see some slender LED taillights that kind of extend from the side around to the tailgate. That Toyota logo is sandwiched in between the taillights, and again, it has that blue border signifying that it is a hybrid. Highlander badging down here, and Platinum off to the right. Another hybrid badge. And one thing about the rear glass on this all-new Highlander is that it is not an independent function now from the tailgate. If you want to open the tailgate or get access to the back at all, you have to open at the latch. You can't just lower the glass and then get into it that way. That's going to limit functionality a little bit, but it saves some weight. And then down below, we've got that same silver finish that we saw at the front of the car. Oh, also, pretty large trunk, roof-mounted, it was one of those, roof-mounted spoiler. Extends off pretty far and has some creases in it for aerodynamic efficiency. And this one has the roof rack with the crossbars and a pano roof that you can see from up here. Yeah, I like I like this new profile. I like the new profile. I like the front angle, like the rear angle. It just doesn't look so blend in with the rest of the vehicles on the road anymore. It has a little more going for it. So that is the exterior. Let's go to the interior and see what we're working with. Pop open this driver door and we see a glazed caramel leather interior. It's not my verbiage. Toyota calls it glazed caramel. And it looks good with this deep red exterior. It also has some contrast stitching here to give it some dimensionality from an otherwise just flat pieces of leather. Perforation in the seats, and this platinum one also has ventilation and heat for these front seats and heat for the rear seats. Looking at the dashboard, a couple things stand out. Let's climb inside and point them out. All right, so first off is this 12.3 inch infotainment touchscreen. Does not have any controls down here for you to operate it, so there are a couple media settings on the steering wheel, but pretty much everything you're going to have to touch the screen or use the physical volume and physical tuner adjustments, which I'm glad that they still include. Turning that off. All right, so on the left side of your screen or right side of the screen, because this can be moved, this piece over here, is going to be all of your media, navigation, vehicle settings, that stuff. And it cannot absorb the full part of the screen. So if you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are standard on the Highlander, it's just going to occupy that one section of the screen. It's not going to take over this piece, which is dedicated to climate control, seat settings, audio, your battery information, and consumption. And then this is your power split. And this being the all-wheel drive version, you'll actually see that active. So yeah, that is going to stay where it is. But again, you can move it right to left. And then as you go into, well, this one, there we go. Because I'm using my phone to record this, I can't show you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But when you go into the navigation, it's going to look the same when you're using Google Maps or Apple Maps in this display. It's just going to occupy this portion over here. And I want to say this is probably 8 inches off to the left if this is a 12.3 inch display fully. Standard on the Highlander is an 8-inch display. Like this 12.3 is an upgrade for the top two trims, the Limited and the Platinum, but the standard 8-inch screen is still going to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This one has a Wi-Fi hotspot, and JBL sound system is also standard on this Platinum trim, also on the Limited trim. As for the rest of the dashboard, you've got some physical controls here for your seat heating and ventilation, physical climate controls, in addition to those that you can have going on up here on the display. And then we've got some home, menu, audio, and map buttons for quick access. Piano black surfacing for this section here, but there's so many different textures going on in this cabin. So let's see, we've got a leather-esque material, it's not real leather, then perforation for this piece in here, still that same fake leather, then a striped metal-ish trim. It's plastic, but it looks metal. Injection molding for this upper part of the dash, and that kind of extends all the way over to the doors. That's still injection molding. And there's so many different colors too. So we've got this caramel, and then this is a fake wood, and it sounds every bit like fake wood. And this is almost an espresso upper piece here. Hello. And then we've got some regular black plastic down here. And so yeah, there's just and then black leather for the steering wheel. The steering wheel is also heated on this Platinum trim. So there's a lot of different stuff, surfaces and shapes going on in the cabin. And I think it gives it some life, gives it some character. So we can go to the gauge cluster here where we see the power and eco and charge meter off to the left, where your tachometer would normally be in a regular engine car. Off to the right is your speedometer, and then this multicolor TFT display. You can flip through some different information here. Once I figure out, okay, there it is. Nope. There we go. Okay, I was stuck in messages. And the engine just kicked on. All of your safety functions are here. You can turn them on and off. So Toyota Safety Sense P 2.0 suite of active safety features is standard. So you've got adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, lane departure warning, lane trace assist, which is lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, and auto headlights. There may be one other thing I'm missing there, but then the Platinum or limited trims, I think even the XLE add things like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alerts. So you've got your full suite of stuff here. This one also has, the Platinum trim also has this head-up display with a few bits of information, your speed, what gear you're in, and I think some of that can change. So yeah, going through the rest of this, you can access your power split with the all-wheel drive system, your media, your direction. You can have a display of your speed, your efficiency, all that good stuff. That's in your large TFT multicolor display. That is slightly larger than the standard TFT display on other Highlander models, lesser Highlander models. And then we've got some charge ports up here. Two on the right are for charging, and the one on the left is for connecting your device if you don't use Bluetooth. Storage capacity is reasonably good in this center console here. So this rolls back and it reveals your Qi wireless charging pad that you can turn on and off. And then when you lift that up, you open to a pretty good sized cubby. And of course, we're going to find in here my large water bottle. And that brings us to the large water bottle test, which the Highlander already passes because you can see it fits. It does not fit in the door. So if you've got an Nalgene sized bottle, you can have it sit there until you take a turn, then it's going to go flying. But it will fit in this center console here. It also doesn't fit in the glove box. I don't think. It might. Well, it's got some stuff in it. It would fit in there, but it's not a huge glove box. You also have, sorry, before I move on, this perforation is extended in where the grab bar would be on another vehicle. So you can stash your stuff in there, or just dust. Dust will collect in there. So when this is lifted, you can also see there's a tray in here that can be slid forward and backward if I didn't have a water bottle in there, or just removed entirely if you want, or just pushed to the bottom accidentally like that. Your drive modes are here, so you can put it on full EV mode for speeds up to 25 miles an hour, or very light pressing of the throttle. So basically if you're just cruising around your neighborhood and you want to make as little sound as possible and not use any gas, you can use that. As a trail mode, because it's all-wheel drive, Eco, Normal, and Sport are your three standard drive modes. You've got an auto hold over here. If you don't want to take your foot off the brake at a stoplight, you can just press that button. Kind of standard gear selector with a sport mode off to the left and right. It is a CVT transmission, so it's just going to simulate the gears. It's not actually shifting through any gears. Here's your key with a hold button for that tailgate. It's power operated tailgate. It also has a hands-free function, and Highlander printed on the other side of the key. So that's your front section up here. Throw it in park and go to the back seats. Oh, and if you want a GoPro, buy that yourself. That doesn't come with the car. First look at the panoramic sunroof is here. It's a good size sunroof. And this Platinum trim has the captain's chairs, and you can see one captain's chair is pulled a little further forward. It's because they can slide when you're actually in the seat. They can also completely fold flat. Or if you want to access the rear seat, you pull that tab once, slide it forward, and then here is your access to the third row. And there are 3 seats, 3 seat belts. So if you want to try to squeeze someone small in there, you may. I wouldn't. But because these seats can slide forward and back, you can open up a reasonable amount of space in the third row. So you could have an adult sitting in the front, second, and third row because it slides forward. Which is, where's the, and I've lost the tab to pull forward. There it is. So as you can see, no adult is going to sit with that little amount of legroom, but when you do slide it forward, you can see that there's a good amount of legroom back there. And this angle of the seat back can do a pretty deep recline, or you can have it sort of in a normal angle and give the third row passengers some legroom. Independent armrests for these captain's chairs, And then in terms of charging capability, I mentioned that we have rear seats back here, rear heated seats back here, and then we've got 2 USB chargers down here and a 150 watt 3-prong plug, and your climate control settings are there. A couple cup holders in the center portion here, and if you were going to access this third row, as I mentioned, when you slide this forward, you can step back in, or you could climb through this gap in the seats. And on the non-hybrid chair models, that the captain's configuration is a bench, so you can have up to 8 seats in this. You're not going to want to fit 8 people in here. It's a good sized cabin, but it's not massive, so you don't want to do that. The rear seat portion, you've got cup holders, no USB ports back there. So if you want to do charging in the third row, you're going to have to beg these people up here to lend you one of the USB ports. But there's a reasonable amount of headroom back there. I will climb back there and kind of show us what we're working with. Oh, that was graceful. All right, so now I'm going to push the seat all the way back. My knees do not fit. I'm 6 feet tall. My knees do not fit comfortably here. But if I'm going to slide over to the right side, which that seat wasn't so aggressively pulled forward, my knees do fit. And, well, I kind of have headroom. There's not a ton of headroom. But if I lean back, which I can do because these seats recline, let's recline this bad boy. Look at that. It's a pretty good amount of recline back here. So when I do that, it's pretty relaxed and I actually do have headroom. So yeah, it's a third row SUV, 3-row SUV with a useful third row. You also, on this platinum trim and limited trim, I believe, but it may just be platinum, you have the rear sunshades. And let me out of here. Again, super graceful. But that's your setup. If we're talking cargo capacity, let's go to the back and see what we can do here. Power rear tailgate, as I mentioned. You've got 16 cubic feet of space behind the third row, and as you can see with these all the way reclined, it's not so usable, but you can easily slide them into 2 other positions and give yourself much more space back here. This is also a false floor, so there's some storage under here, along with if you want your cargo cover to be stored back here, you can. Another 150 watt 3-prong plug back here. I think there's a 150 power inverter, which is pretty good sized. And then if you fold this third row down, you have something like 43 or 40, I believe it's 48 cubic feet of space when you fold the third row down. If you fold the second and third row down, you have 84 cubic feet of space. So plenty of room to move people and stuff in this Highlander. There is not, forgot to mention this, there is not a power operated third row. It's upset because I stopped it mid close. The third row is not power operated, so if you do want to stow it, you're gonna have to do this. The headrest will fold down automatically. I don't know if this one's gonna do it with, yeah, it did, even with the seat all the way back. But no power operation. If you wanna lift it, you're gonna have to use these tabs, but it's pretty easy to do. And that will conclude our interior discussion. And now it's time to go drive it. All right, I'm kicking this review off with something of critical importance, often underrated. It's the turning radius. How tight is it? Into the middle lane. Very nice, Highlander. Very nice indeed. All right, now we're gonna get to the good stuff. Powertrain. The last generation Highlander used a V6 with electric motors and only all-wheel drive. You can only get it with all-wheel drive. And it made 260 horsepower, something in that range, but it got 29 combined MPG. So you had the V6, but just okay fuel economy. This new one, we've got a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder paired with electric motors, and you can choose either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. If you go front drive, you get 36 combined MPG. Just crazy. It blows everything else out of the water in this 3-row segment. If you go with the all-wheel drive, you lose a little, you get 35 combined MPG. 35 is still amazing when you think about the competitors, the Ford Explorer Hybrid, or the, if you want to step it up a little in price, though pretty comparable to this Platinum trim Highlander, the Acura MDX Sport Hybrid. Those make more power, 321 horsepower for the MDX Sports, 318 horsepower for the Explorer, but the Explorer gets 24 combined MPG. Significantly less than this. And the MDX Sport Hybrid gets 26 combined MPG, still quite a bit off this pace. So this powertrain, the 4-cylinder, making 243 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, connected to a CVT transmission, so you don't have the automatics, you don't have the real gears, you get the simulated gears, but it's a hybrid and it kind of just works with this setup. The fuel economy is astounding in this vehicle. And it has power. It'll get up and go. The mid-range is okay, but from a dig, it really gets moving. I like this powertrain. It's smooth, it's not whiny, either the powertrain or the transmission is whiny. It's a good setup, and the ride is very smooth. The suspension tuning is such that it's not overly stiff. It's not going to give you a very dynamic drive, but it is going to be smooth. The braking, it doesn't have that typical hybrid, awkward regen brake feel. This is just smooth and very predictable in terms of the pedal feel. I'm noting that there's excellent visibility in the vehicle. I can see everywhere. And then of course in this Platinum, I've got things like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, the automatic emergency braking, that's standard. I feel very safe in this vehicle, and anyone who's gonna buy this car is gonna feel the same. There's a good vantage point in this driver's seat. You can see very easily. A lot of adjustability in this seat. It's really comfortable. I wish there was a little more side bolstering, but the seat itself is very comfortable. You got your two-way lumbar support. I do wish the seat could actually go a little lower. So this is clearly meant for smaller people. And so the seat is pretty high, and so individuals like myself of good torso length feel like I'm sitting pretty high up in the seat. I wish I could sit down further lower, but this is not a sports car ultimately, so that's okay. I'm gonna give them a pass for that. I forgot to mention that this infotainment also has a really sweet setup with this camera system. So I hit the view button over here, and there's many different displays here, and there's an auto setting that'll show you multiple things while you're in drive mode, along with the bird's eye view off to the right hand side. That kind of stays permanently off to the right hand side. And then when you're in park, it'll give you this cool 3D graphic that does a 360 around the car and actually makes the car look invisible, so you can see through it to different parts that you may not want to scrape on the car. I just think they've done a great job with this camera system. It's not the most cutting edge. I think that Hyundai's camera system is probably the most cutting edge I've experienced recently, but it's pretty good. It's got all the different angles that you would want, and you shouldn't run into problems not being able to see out of the car. That was one thing I just wanted to throw in there. But driving experience of the Highlander, there isn't much I dislike about this. It doesn't feel like it needs more power. It certainly doesn't feel overpowered. It's very clear what this vehicle is intended to do, and that is to maximize the fuel economy while getting as many people as possible and stuff to your destination comfortably, safely. It's executing its mission very well, and now with the changes for the design, I think it looks much more premium, much more contemporary. That other design, the last generation, was just getting on in years, and as I said, so vanilla. This doesn't feel like a sacrifice in any way. And now we come to the price. This model, as tested, all the bells and whistles, $52,512, which is a chunk of change. But you can get into a Highlander hybrid for as little as $39,000 and change. which is, it's a great deal. That's going to be your front-wheel drive LE. But really, if you want some creature comforts in the Highlander, you're looking at the mid-40s range. And how does that stack up against the competitors? Well, the Ford Explorer Hybrid in front-wheel drive version starts at $49,000. If you want the all-wheel drive, that's $51,000. That is also getting up there in price. If you look in the entry-level luxury segment, now you've got the Acura MDX Sport Hybrid. That's at $54,000 to start, and that's only all-wheel drive. So the Highlander is positioned pretty well, especially if your interests align with this. If you want the fuel economy, if that's your goal, if you're going to be driving this all the time and you want to cut down on those gas bills, 35 mpg or 36 with a front-wheel drive is really, really good, and it's hard to beat for this money. The cabin, it's nice. It's not an entry-level luxury vehicle, and that's made clear by certain detailing things, certain material quality. But I don't have much else to complain about this vehicle. Now, fuel economy isn't your end-all be-all. If you can get away with low to mid-20s mpg, I'm not thinking you get the Ford Explorer Hybrid. I think you get the Kia Telluride. There's a reason it's won so many awards. It's just great to look at on the outside and the inside. It has so many good convenience features. It's so comfortable. It's just, for me, that's the best in this three-row SUV mainstream segment. But if you need the fuel economy, if you want those gas savings, there's nothing that would keep me from getting the 2020 Toyota Highlander Hybrid. It's a wonderful three-row SUV, and just, keep it below $50,000. That's my thought. Thanks for watching, guys.